In the sleepy village of Oakwood, nestled among rolling hills and dense forests, life moved at a leisurely pace. The villagers shared tales of old, and among them was the story of the phantom hound, a spectral dog said to roam the countryside at night. Most dismissed it as a myth, a tale to entertain children and keep them close to home after dark. However, for Clara, the legend would soon become all too real. Clara had recently moved to Oakwood to escape the chaos of city life. She rented a quaint cottage on the outskirts, surrounded by lush greenery and the soothing sounds of nature. Her companion was Max, a lively golden retriever who had been with her through thick and thin. They spent their days exploring the countryside and their nights curled up by the fire. One foggy evening, while walking Max along an old dirt path, Clara heard a distant howl. It was unlike any sound she had ever heard, both mournful and chilling. Max's ears perked up, and he began to growl, his fur standing on end. Clara felt a shiver run down her spine, but dismissed it as a wild animal and hurried home. The howling became a regular occurrence, each night seeming to come closer. Max, usually fearless, would whimper and hide under the bed whenever it began. One night, Clara woke to find Max staring intently out the window, his body rigid with fear. She followed his gaze but saw nothing but the inky darkness. Determined to understand what was disturbing her beloved pet, Clara asked the locals about the howling. Old Mr. Thompson, a lifelong resident, recounted the legend of the phantom hound. According to him, the hound was the ghost of a dog named Shadow, who had died protecting his master from a band of thieves a century ago. Since then, Shadow's spirit had roamed the area, searching for his lost master and guarding the village from unseen dangers. Clara was skeptical but intrigued. That night, she decided to investigate further. She and Max ventured out, armed with a flashlight and a sense of determination. The fog was thick, and the air was eerily still. As they walked, the howling began again, this time closer than ever. Max stopped, his body tense, and Clara felt a presence nearby. Suddenly, a large, shadowy figure emerged from the mist. It was a dog, much larger than Max, with glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness. Clara's heart pounded in her chest, but she stood her ground, sensing that the apparition meant no harm. The spectral dog stared at her, then at Max, before letting out another mournful howl and disappearing into the fog. Over the following days, Clara noticed changes in Max's behavior. He seemed more alert, often staring into the distance as if seeing something she couldn't. One evening, Clara found an old, tattered collar near the edge of her property. The name Shadow was barely legible on the worn leather. She took it as a sign and decided to learn more about Shadow's story. Through old village records and conversations with the elderly residents, Clara pieced together the tale of Shadow and his master, Thomas. Thomas had been a kind and brave man, beloved by the village. When the thieves attacked, Shadow had fought fiercely to protect Thomas, but both had perished in the struggle. The villagers had buried them together, but over time, the grave had been forgotten and neglected. Determined to bring peace to the restless spirit, Clara and Max set out to find the grave. They searched the woods and fields until they stumbled upon a hidden, overgrown clearing. There, under a large oak tree, they found the crumbling headstone marking the final resting place of Thomas and Shadow. Clara cleaned the grave and placed the collar on the headstone. She whispered a prayer, hoping to convey her respect and gratitude. As she stood there, the air grew warm, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Max barked softly, his tail wagging, as if sensing the presence of the ghostly hound. That night, the howling ceased. The village was blanketed in a serene silence, and Max slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. Clara felt a sense of accomplishment, knowing she had helped put a tortured spirit to rest. The villagers, upon hearing her story, held a small ceremony to honor Shadow and Thomas, ensuring their bravery would never be forgotten. Life in Oakwood returned to its tranquil rhythm. Clara and Max continued their adventures, but now with an unspoken bond to the past. Clara often felt a protective presence watching over them, especially during their evening walks. She knew that Shadow's spirit had found peace but remained a guardian of the village and its people. In the years that followed, the tale of the Phantom Hound took on a new meaning. No longer a story to scare children, it became a legend of loyalty, bravery, and the unbreakable bond between a dog and his master. Clara and Max's story was added to the village lore, a testament to their courage and compassion. And so, the spirit of Shadow lived on not as a haunting presence, but as a symbol of the enduring power of love and loyalty. The villagers of Oakwood would always remember the brave hound who had protected them in life and continued to watch over them in death. The misty night held no fear, for they knew that in the shadows lurked a faithful guardian, ever vigilant, ever loyal.